Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Depth of Field. I'm your host, Penny De Los Santos. I'm super excited for today's interview conversation. Before we get started, I just wanted to thank everybody for listening. Thanks for all your support. And thanks for just being along in this journey with me as we kind of uncover inspiration and look for people who can help us figure out our way in this crazy industry of photography. My guest today is Joy Fennell. I'm so excited to have her on. And Joy, I wanted you to introduce yourself because I just feel like I'd love to hear how you describe yourself and your journey, your role.
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Joy Fennell. How do I describe myself? Well, I guess right now, where I am in my life right now, I am a creative director turned AI designer. I call it designer because I use a lot of generative AI to design a lot of the work that I do. However, I am a former makeup artist. I've been retired. Well, I did makeup for about 20 years in the fashion industry. I've been retired for about a year now, probably like a year and a half, 2 years now. And so from there, that's when I started kind of venturing out and doing all the things that I'm doing now, which is AI related and creative director related. So that's who I am, I guess.
Amazing. Amazing. And I'd also say, yeah, I mean, I found you on Instagram. Your work popped up in my feed and I immediately just started following you and I was
Thank you.
blown away.
Thank you.
Blown away. I messaged you immediately and I just wanted to know who you were. I wanted to ask you so many questions immediately, but then I decided, no, I'm just going to watch and learn from this person. And then maybe
Oh, wow.
one day down the road, I'll get a chance to talk to you a little more one-on-one and kind of figure out, your journey getting here and what all of this means. Because, I think a lot of people are curious and unsure.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
I put together a list of questions that I wanted to ask you. I didn't share them with you.
Hmm.
um,
No problem.
because I really felt like you and I would be able to talk about things. It's just a
Hmm.
feeling I had. So, um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You're
Um,
right.
yeah. So I wanted to ask you on your website, I was reading your bio and also I was reading your page on the services you offer. And
Hmm.
you had something called AI prompter strategist. And I wanted you to just talk to
Hmm.
that and tell me what that means.
So when I do a lot of the things that I do, I enter prompts. Generative AI, you enter in
Hmm.
prompts to inform the program on what you want to see and what you want to, what the end goal is. When I say prompter strategist, is that if a company comes to me that and they want something specific, I tend to try to strategize to get them what they're looking for. So instead of it just being me, I have to seriously kind of really think about what I need to use and how I need to strategically place words in and all that to actually have the outcome be that what they're looking for. So it's a little bit more involved.
So for anybody that does do this type of work, the title for them would be AI prompter
Yes, or engineer.
engineer. Okay. Very cool. How did you get into that? How long have you been doing it? How did you get into it?
Oh, so I kind of fell into it, honestly. Like I used to, like I mentioned earlier, I was a makeup artist in the fashion industry. Um, and I'm getting older. I was like, you know what? I can no longer carry this bag everywhere, especially living in New York City, up and down these streets and up and down these subway steps and all that. I was just like, and also I've also got diagnosed some years back with rheumatoid arthritis. So when that happened, I was already like, okay, when it started really to affect my body and started where like being on set can be a lot of work and a lot of
Hmm.
labor. And so for me, it was starting to take a toll on my body. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, kind of thinking to myself, well, what's the next move? Like, what am I going to do next? And one night I was over to a really good friend's house and I tried on the Oculus, the VR Oculus.
Hmm.
And I was like, I think this might be it. Yeah. So once I tried that on, I was like, oh my gosh, it like opened up a whole new world for me. Now, after that, I do feel like as a makeup artist, going into augmented reality is probably more of a natural kind of progression. If you want to get into that, I tried to learn it. The learning curve is a little bit harder than I expected. So I played around with AI and I was like, I don't like this. Like the images I was getting were like, it was like some weird kind of thing. And then I put it away and I was like, okay, let me go back and try to learn AR. I still wasn't understanding AR. So after that, I was like, I don't know. For some reason, I picked back up on AI and I changed something. I changed a word or something and I got something back. And I was like, huh. Like, I was like, I think I kind of, let me keep going.
Mm.
And after that, that's when I really started going. And, you know, throughout my career, I've always had people tell me, like, I could see you being a creative director. I could see you being a creative director because I could kind of understand the whole entire scene, the whole entire picture. And so for me, when I'm doing my AI, it's like I do feel like I'm almost like the creative director of the picture and I can pull in all aspects. I'm not just bound to one part, which is just the makeup. I get to inform the hair. I get to say what kind of outfit I want, what kind of prop styling I want. And so for me, that was really important because if when you see my work or if people are able to see my work, at the end of the day, I like a lot.
Yeah.
And so the prop styling, I would have people would have already said no to me because my sets would have been so expensive.
Yeah. Your
So
budget would
it's
have been so
like
high.
exactly, I would have
Yeah.
blew past my budget so quickly. So now I get to have
That's
fun
amazing.
and
Yeah.
put together the images I want to see, and I don't have someone telling me, "Oh no, take off that red lipstick," or like now I'm like, "Oh, I
That's
get to."
incredible. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's the timeline here? Like how long? Can you give me like a timeline?
It's been about 3 years.
Okay.
Because during when the first year I was still doing makeup and I would be on set and I would be talking to everyone, like the photographers, the stylists, the hairstyle. And I'm like, have you guys heard about well for me at the time, that's when everyone was talking about the metaverse.
Hmm.
And I was like, have you guys heard of the metaverse? Like, what do and I'm sitting there trying to talk to them about it, and they're like, just be quiet, like, just leave me alone. But I was like, because I know a lot of people who are my age as well, and I'm like starting to be like, well, what are y'all, like, what are you guys thinking for your next chapter? And so, people I know are still in that, but for me, I started kind of thinking outside and being like, I got to start to think about my next chapter. And then I kept hearing about the metaverse. I started, learning about crypto and all that. For me, I didn't necessarily dive headfirst into it, but I started perking my ears up to it and started like learning a little bit more about it.
Wow. Okay. Can you share your process with me a little bit if you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for me, I think it's with anyone's process. Like you have to like if I see something I'm inspired by, I'm like, oh, let me go, like let me go and like see if I see some flowers and I look at some color in the flower. For me, it's all about color. It's all about boldness, richness, colors, with the flowers, those type of things. And I'm like, okay, material. I start to be like, okay, what words can I pull out of this? Like if it's a material, like, a silk dress draped on an arm or something like that. Um, and so the process is, I think for anyone, I tell a lot of people because as we know, a lot of people are very fearful of AI right now and very, very nervous about it. And I try to explain to them on set, and Penny, you probably also see this too. On set, we have mood boards.
Mm-hmm.
We have mood boards that we scan and we look at and we, conversate about, talk about. And from those mood boards, we'll draw out the
Mm-hmm.
elements that
Absolutely.
inspire us. And we then create the image. So
Mm-hmm.
we take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we're like cooking up a new image. And so, I think, and I tell
Hmm.
people all the time, the AI is not different from that. It is inspired from so many different things. And so,
Wow.
and so it's almost like a human mind that got trained on it. We're
Mm-hmm.
trained on everyone's images as well. So yeah.
Wow. I love that definition. I love how you said that. I've never heard anybody say that before, and that makes a lot of sense. And it kind of, I mean, it definitely opens up my thought process. And that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's hard, I think sometimes. I mean, we all already know, like, I don't know about you, but I know when I first entered the game, that's when digital started
Mm-hmm.
to be like the big thing, and how many photographers were really nervous about digital.
Yeah.
Like they were like, no, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, and I understood, and I still understand. Even now, I understand the hesitation around AI. I get that. What I tend to want to tell people though is, even if you don't want to use the language, which to me is what I kind of say AI could be, is like you train on a language,
Mm-hmm.
it's still not a bad thing to actually know it or to actually start to try to learn it. Because as we saw during the time with digital photography, you had a lot of people who were very hesitant to use it, didn't want to use it. And so, unfortunately, those people got pushed out of the industry. It was either you had the people who were already at the top who could still use film because
Mm-hmm.
they could afford it, and their services are now premium services.
Yeah.
And they have clients that are willing to pay it. But if you weren't a photographer that was willing to do that and you weren't at the top, then I'm sorry to say, but a lot of the photographers I know are no longer photographers,
Yeah.
and so they had to eventually learn how to do something with digital, or
Yeah, that's
even
so true.
what was it, Photoshop, or the tech,
Mm-hmm.
a lot, like, so it's just, technology came around and it changes, it shakes things up.
How much of your images that you're making, that you're AI prompting, I don't know, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
okay. Um, how much of that, after you create this image, are you then retouching? Are you
Well,
at all?
I don't really do a lot of retouching or
Okay.
anything. I might put it in another program to maybe to maybe have movement out of it or
Hmm.
something like that. Every now and again, I might run something through and retouch, but it's not a lot of retouching that I do.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I've read different things from other photographers, so I just wanted to ask you about that.
Some photographers they definitely do that though.
Hmm. Uh, wow. I mean, that's so cool. You've totally inspired me, and I feel like a lot of people are gonna think of it really differently. And I love your story. I think it's so great. Um,
Thank you.
your bio for me was so fascinating, and it brought up a lot of questions for me. So, in your sort of services that you offer, so generative AI, Afrofuturism, that's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to be an Afrofuturist?
So I personally have so many different thoughts on that. I feel like when I think about Afrofuturism, I feel like it's a feeling of being able to create the future that you want to see as a Black person. And so for me, it's really important involve imagination, involve play, involve wonder in that, because you know, there's so many things going on in this world, and I'm a person that I know my history, and I appreciate my history. My question though becomes, well, what about the future? Like how can we always have to have this lens of despair. I want to know, how does a black future look without that? Or I mean, because at the end of the day, we're all going to be informed by our past. My question though is, how can we create a new future? Is it possible? And so that's where I really want to work in that area, to see like and just create a sense of wonder, a sense of imagination, because I give one of the examples I give is a Wes Anderson, where I love Wes Anderson. I love his work. Like, he's one of my top directors, which he's probably a lot of different, everyone's top director. Not everyone, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He gets to just create. It's not a thing where it's like, where he always has to draw from his past. It's a just create. Like, and I'm just like, how does that feel? How does that feel to be able just to create without feeling like you have to take the whole history with you,
Mm.
And so for me, it's a really new kind of thought process. It's not 100% perfect, because at the end of the day, all of our lives are going to be informed by our past. But I want to know, how can we make it a difference in the future?
Mm. I love that.
Thank
I
you.
think that's so important, and I'm completely inspired that you're doing that. Yeah, and I think your images really reflect that, and they're so powerful.
Thank you.
I'm just so glad I found you. How do you use your art to advocate for the Black community?
One of the reasons why I also decided, or how I also kind of fell into AI, was that I remember listening to a Breakfast Club interview with Andrew Yang, the presidential candidate
Hmm.
from a few years ago, and he was saying that once AI gets introduced, the income for the Black community is going to go to zero. And my eyes lit up, and I was like, whoa, like, okay, well, if that's the case, we need to stop this. We need to find a way to stop this. This is not good, I felt like from that point I was coming from a place of fear. And so once I finally decided to try AI and use AI, it's almost like the world of possibility open for me. And I was like, instead of being fearful of it, how can we now engage with it and create a new future that includes us in it? Because that, to me, is where the advocating begins. Because a lot of times, as creatives, especially Black creatives, a lot of people get inspired by our creativity, but we're not in the rooms, and we're not the ones making, like being able to monetize our own
Yeah.
culture. And a lot of times we can be fearful of things, to where we get behind the eight
Hmm.
ball on things. This is where I'm like, this is an opportunity for us to get in front of the eight ball. This is an opportunity for us to now, instead of being fearful of AI, let's figure out a way to incorporate it into our world, so that we're the ones monetizing it, and we're the ones writing our voices into what's going on. Because another thing that I come up against is, well, it has the ability to erase us. And I'm like, the way we get erased is if we don't participate in the process, because then we're leaving our voices, our nuances, up to someone else who doesn't look like us. And then that, to me, is where for me, that's the scary part, because then we're not being involved in this, and we're going to be left behind. We already know about the digital divide. That already is a real thing
Yeah.
with the computers, And so now I'm like, I don't want us getting even further behind, because of out of fear. for this. And then another, what I've also seen is that people, I tell them, I'm like, once they start using it, they're like, oh, I didn't really need to be afraid. And I'm like, yes. I was like, a lot of people out here who have never used it are telling people how they should think about it. And I'm like, but have you used it? They're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, I can't talk to you then. Because you don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Wow. I could see you collaborating with a corporation or a business, a big company, a tech firm that's willing to like create a space so that you could create an organization that like teaches young Black children, AI,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
technology, like a
Yeah.
summer camp or something.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it's just not even just young Black children. I want to go multi-generational, because at the end of
Oh,
the
that's
day,
cool.
like a
Yeah.
lot of people assume that,
Yep.
people my age or even older somehow have already solidified and made it. And it's like they need to learn this technology as well.
So true. So true.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like older, especially middle aged and older people get left out of the conversation. And
Yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
absolutely right.
no, we need to be included.
You're absolutely right. Damn, Joy, you're like just you're taking it to new levels for me in every way. I'm just I mean, I think it's a lot to think about, and it's certainly inspiring. So thank you
Mm,
for sharing all that. So obviously photographers are nervous.
yeah.
People are nervous about photography and the future of photography. And do you really feel like there's a future where both of those lanes, AI prompting strategy, can coexist with traditional photography? Is there
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, you do. You still
I
feel there'll be a
definitely think
marketplace
so.
for it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like I mentioned earlier about the example about digital photography, how many people went into premium versus how many
Yeah.
people started learning digital photography. I definitely feel like, people are going to get pushed into more premium services if they, don't want to use it. And then, but some people are going to have to learn how to use it,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
else, unfortunately, um, they might be pushed out of the market. And that's, I definitely don't want that to happen. However, I'm also like a person that wants to deal in reality. And the reality is that some people need to learn how to do this as well. So that you can all, but also know that, this could be a service that you also offer. It doesn't have to be an and or
Mm-hmm.
situation. It could be both. The fact is that you could know how to do this
Yeah.
too, and the great thing about it, the great thing about the fact that you're a photographer already is that you already know how to prompt certain camera shots, use certain lenses, certain, like you're telling the subject all day long how to pose. It's so many different things that you guys already know that helps inform you. Just like when for my work, I do a lot of beauty. Why? Because I was a makeup artist
Mm-hmm.
and I knew how to do makeup,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
That
And
makes
so for
sense.
me, I was able to prompt and I was able to inform the AI better because I knew that part of the business, And
Yeah.
so I think like it doesn't have to be an and or situation. It could be both. You could also offer that and add that to your lane of services. I tell people, I'm like, even if you don't want to do AI, you could do AR, you could do video games. You could go into being like a person that starts to learn how to do 3D or metahumans, or it's so many different ways to kind of expand what you bring to the table.
So well said. It's true. It's true. It's all about, I mean, the comparison to digital, when digital photography first started and now, AI. It's true. There were two teams, and some people that were just like, no, I'm going to stay with film, and others that were just like, nope, let's do it. And I think there'll be a separation. And yeah, I agree. I
And I
agree.
mean, we already know how difficult like some of these conversations can be, when it first starts. You know, people are afraid. I
Yeah.
get it. I understand it. But instead of walking away and saying and throwing your hands up and saying, I'm never gonna learn this, I'm not gonna do it. What if you walk towards the fear? You
Hmm.
know? Because what if you walk towards it, you try it, and then you realize I shouldn't have been fearful to begin with.
Yeah. That's one of the themes I catch in so many people that I've interviewed is the fear is really kind of the driving force behind a lot of their serious moments of growth and transition and really help them get to the place they were trying to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because at
So
first
cool.
I was terrified of AI.
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, we have got to find a way to shut it down. You know, AI is not
That's
perfect at
amazing.
all. It's not perfect. It's not, you know, but I think some people are waiting around for it to be this perfect thing.
Hmm.
But as you know, eventually it will get, I wouldn't say it will get to be perfect because with anything, nothing's perfect. But at the same time, I will tell people like, don't wait around for that moment. Start to learn now so that when it does get to that place, you've already put your anchor into the water, you know, and that
Yeah.
you already like learning how to do it so that you're not behind the eight ball. Like people, you know, and so you're not feeling like, oh, I should have learned this sooner. I mean, even for me, I've done it for what, three years now, and I'm like, oh, I should have done, you know, like, oh, I wish I had learned it sooner. You know, I would, yeah, yeah.
Dang, I think I would love to talk to you every week and just be like, okay, I'm hitting the road. I'm hitting the road
Let's
running
do
here. All
it.
right, I
Let's
got
do
one
it.
one last question for you. I wanted to ask you for your trends, your predictions, trends for 2024 in photography and
Ooh.
beyond. You know, if you have a couple or two or three.
Well, I think, okay, so I feel like photography is going to go back to, part of photography is going to go back to maximalist. For a long time, we were very like, it was very, the industry is very like natural,
Hmm.
very neutral, you know, and very like, you know, no makeup. You know, now I think people are going to go back to, they want to see these things. They want to, you know, they want vibrant. They want, you know, especially after, you know, the last few years with after COVID,
Hmm.
people want to live life, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think people are like, show me all the things in one picture, you know,
Oh,
and
nice.
put it out
Okay.
there. Like show me
Hmm.
everything. Whatever like they can feel like can help uplift their spirits, you know? Like I think that that is so needed in this world right now, as opposed to like just, you know, like I get natural and of course we've all been there and we you know, it's still needed, but I think that in terms of just mental health for the whole entire world, I think people need to see, you know, like color and, you know, just texture and vibrancy, you know? And so I just
Hmm.
think that that is important. And then I'm really big right now where, and I don't know, maybe it's coming with age or something. I think for myself, but I'm just like, don't tell me what to do. You know, like that's like that's another thing I think is gonna like like people are like tired of getting kind of bullied and being told what to do.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to agree with it, that's fine. But don't tell me what to do. You know,
Hmm.
like you could we can have a conversation about it. I want to have conversations. That's the thing. I want to have conversations. That could be part of the trend is that we're going back into having conversations about things. But
Okay.
this whole like black or white, yes or no, there's
No.
more nuance than this. We
Yeah.
need to have conversations. Like stop thinking like, oh, you just gotta put your sand, you know, like your stake in the sand and that's it. Like,
Hmm.
no, So yeah.
I love it. I love your predictions, your trends. I'm into them. Stay in your lane. Let's talk about it.
Yes, let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
And
I'm
let's,
so okay with having a conversation. I think that that's where we need to get back to as a
mhm,
society in
yeah.
general. It's just conversations.
And
Like
accepting
this
each
whole
other instead of
yes,
having it divide us. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and this whole bullying, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, how am I 48 still getting bullied? You know, like nah, shutting
no,
that down.
no. Wow, it has been incredible to talk with you. I'm completely just kind of inspired and in awe. And I know I won't be the only one. I think you're going to open up the eyes of so many people out there. Uh, I want to ask you one last question because I would be bummed if I
Yeah.
didn't find this answer. But what inspires you, and just in general, anything specific
Oh,
or overall, just what inspires you, Joy?
yeah. So I feel like I'm inspired by so many different things. I mean, I don't know, if you know, but my mom passed in
I didn't know
July of
that.
last year.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
so thank you. And just like uh she was my original like fashion maven queen,
Oh, wow.
so looking at older pictures of her, that always inspires me, and just kind of thinking of like her and and her legacy and what she did and how she inspires me. But I'm also just inspired by just the world, and the thing is, like, we have so many things going on in this world right now that I want to stay inspired by the world, because if not, you know, it you can go into a pretty dark place out
Yeah,
here. And I'm like, I refuse. I'm not doing it. I've got to stay inspired and stay in color, and I guess for me it's all about like that. For me, is a trend is like color and vibrancy, and and people and laughter and fun, wonder, like those things inspire
beautiful.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, just
Thank you.
simple joy, just like
I feel like I was just like rambling just now.
No, no, no. It's so great. It's so great. Everything, I mean, just like serious, beautiful words and very inspiring. Joy, I can't thank you enough. I hope we're able to connect more throughout the year. I'd love to
We
touch base,
are.
maybe have you on
For
again.
sure. For
Um,
sure. Listen, I know good people when I see them. Like when I saw your picture, I was like, oh, maybe a good person. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, yeah. So
oh,
I'm
thank
just
you.
like, so I'm definitely whatever you need anytime. Please don't hesitate to let me know. I'm down.
Thank you, Joy. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being on my podcast, Depth of Field. And thank you for just your inspirational words and your,
What a great name for a podcast.
you like it?
I love it.
Oh,
Like
thank
depth of
you.
field. Like, yeah, like that is so clever. That's
Thank you.
beautiful. I love
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, I toyed around with a couple of different ones, but this one just felt like so many different meanings. And
Yeah.
also, if you're a photographer,
Yeah,
love visuals, you'll know exactly what it's about. So, yeah.
exactly. I love it. Yeah.
Thank
So,
you. Thank
okay.
you.
Sorry, you were going to
No,
continue.
no, no. I just wanted to thank you again, and I wanted to thank the listeners, and also tell me how people can find out more about you. Like, let me know how to let
Yeah.
us know how to find you.
Yeah, so you could definitely find me on social media at Joy Fennell, but also you could follow my design studio called The Future in Black, where I'm now working. It's a creative design studio powered by AI, but where we do immersive experiences and all that stuff. And then also one of my missions is to continue to support Black creatives and learning this new technology as well. So that's
Beautiful.
find me on the channels. We're getting ready to drop a new website, but thefutureinblack.com, and then Joy Fennell as well.
Incredible. I'm a fan. And
Thank
so
you.
I'm so grateful
Same.
to have you here. Thank you, everybody, again for listening. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. Depth of field, a change in perspective. See you guys next time. Have a beautiful day.